Hey, what's up, guys? Brandon B. And I want to talk about why I stopped being a sports fan. Now, what I mean by fan is I mean a sports fanatic, right? Because fan is short for fanatic. And so I stopped being a sports fan. It was a long process, and it all started really in 2007. It took I'd say a 13-year process between 2007 and now, where it's the night of Mayweather versus De La Hoya. But before that, my favorite basketball player, Tracy McGrady, is about to play. And he's going to play before this fight is going to take place. And it's a game seven. It's my favorite player, and I'm 15 at the time. And so, in terms of my friends and all of that, our friendship is based upon sports. A lot of it is based upon sports. It's based upon these arguments of who's better. Trace McGrady, Kobe, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Melo. These are the stars of that time. And obviously LeBron's still a star. And so we're just having these arguments, and our identity is based upon these things. What team are you repping, and who's your favorite player, and who do you think is the best, etc. Right? And every time your team lost, it was our way of saying, you were going to come to school and we were going to joke on you for your team losing. And anyway, so game seven, they lose, and that's just how it was being a Tracy McGrady fan at the time. He always lost in the first round, and I just felt so heartbroken. And I noted, and I said, this is not normal, right? And sports fans will tell you that this is normal, right? They'll tell you that, I cried when Wayne Gretzky got traded. I cried when Michael Jordan retired. All of these different things. And for me, I was like, this isn't normal. This is normal. And so it started with that, and then so later in the night, Floyd's about to fight, and this is my favorite boxer. And it took about to round 3 or 4, and I think I may have basketball more serious than boxing, because it took about round 3 or 4 for me to actually enjoy the fight. And then Floyd goes on, he wins. But at this time, I'm playing basketball, and I want to be the best. And I'm just playing, but I noticed, I took Tracy McGrady's loss hard. I took it hard as if I played. And back then, and some sports fans will still do it. They'll say we traded so and so, we won last night, even though they didn't play, the players played. But I understand what they're saying, and I think that was my approach. But the problem was, I was playing basketball at that time, and at no point in the season when we lost did I take it that hard, and that kind of stuck with me. And then at that moment is when I started shifting away towards who was my favorite, quote unquote. And I just enjoyed the game, but I still obviously had a bias towards like a Tracy McGrady or something like that. So then you fast forward to LeBron winning his first championship. I believe it's against OKC. And at this point, I'm not in school. I just stopped boxing. I have no job. And him winning this championship was kind of like motivation, right? And that was what was holding on. What I was thinking about was like, okay, he wins this, and then I get to go on and do something, right? And he wins a championship. But I noticed I didn't get a call from any of the jobs that I applied to because he won a championship. Nothing was done. Nothing was done. So my life didn't necessarily improve, but his obviously did. And then you fast forward to around 2018, 2019, I just say, you know what, I'm done watching sports. Not because I don't enjoy it, I'm just done in the sense of I was kind of fed up with my life. At this point, I'm hopping from temp jobs. I'm doing these random jobs, these little odd jobs that are bringing no fulfillment into my life. And I'm trying to figure out, because I've always identified myself as an athlete, and I, understanding, okay, I'm not going to be an athlete, right? I'm not going to be an NBA, and I'm not going to be a world championship boxer. So what do I do? If I'm not those things, what do I do? And so I said, okay, I'm not going to watch these guys, do what I wanted to do. And not from a hating standpoint, just from the standpoint of I can find something more productive with my time, though I still wanted to watch. So it starts off with that, which means I just didn't watch no games. I'd still watch some boxing matches every now and then. Boxing's easier to keep up with than basketball. And at this point, I actually like boxing more anyway. But it's easier to keep up with with boxing than basketball because there's only a few big fights per year. And when basketball's 82 games, even when they win a championship, you're worrying about the off season and who's going to get traded, who's going to get drafted. There's so much, who's retiring. There's so much shakeup. And so just stopped watching. And then obviously the quarantine would happen. And then so it no longer was about a discipline thing. It was sports isn't here. Okay, so sports is not here. What do I do? And it was so funny because I ended up finding myself still checking ESPN just to see what they talk about. And ESPN at this point was starting to like just play old games, whether it be like, you know, some old 2008 games, right? And they're just trying to keep their momentum going in terms of, you know, we don't really have sports right now, but we can tell you about the history of sports, right? And it may be fulfilled and filled in a void for some hardcore sports fans. But one thing I started noticing was I didn't need it. I wasn't missing nothing. And then so sports would come back. The NBA's with their bubble, and obviously NFL's here now. And still been some boxing matches. And I started understanding, like, the only thing that's been consistent, whether it was the 15-year-old kid who just wanted to watch his favorite player win, or the man who was watching LeBron win and was looking for some type of inspiration for that, or the older man, he's still young, still a young man, looking for ways to improve upon himself. When I said I'm not going to watch it, there was one thing that stayed in there, and that was that it was a sense of motivation, right? And I wanted to be motivated, and I wanted to be inspired. So I said, you know what? I'm about to shift. And that's it was a whole shift in terms of my podcast was different. Rebel Thoughts was no longer going to be sports based. It was no longer going to, and those conversations eventually started to bore me long term, because then I started getting into, and it's kind of like talking politics, where we're not talking about principles, we're talking about the people we're actually going at the people and not the actual subjects, right? We're not going at principle, we're going at subjects. And the level of biasness that it takes to be a sports fan, and in terms of just being a true fan, I can only give that for a handful of people, right? You'd have to be my woman, my child, you know, you'd have to be like I said, my woman, my son, my parents, my siblings. You'd have to be that. You can't just be LeBron James and dunking on people and you're getting that type of biasness from it, or that type of emotional reaction. And I started noticing that I wasn't enjoying those arguments as much. It just wasn't getting me where I needed to be. And those conversations started to bore me more and more. And the concept of motivation, what drives you, started to intrigue me even more, because that was what was consistent even when I was a kid. When I was a kid and I was watching Allen Iverson, it was like he was inspiring me. So it wasn't that so much that I love sports, it was more so that I love to be inspired. And now, so this is the whole shift in terms of my YouTube channel, where I want to do more motivation. I want to get more into the psyche, whether it be my psyche or someone who I'm interviewing, or someone who's a part or a subject matter of what we see going on in the world, because your president may change, as we're seeing right now. And regardless of where you fall on that, it's going to always change. Whoever wins the championship may change. In 1998, we were talking about Jordan. 2020, we're talking about LeBron. 2010, we were talking about Kobe. In 2030, we might be talking about, I don't know, Zion Williamson, or we might be talking about somebody else. But that always changes. But what is your core? What is driving you, right? And can we find some consistency in there? And so I say all that to say that I'm not downplaying or trying to disrespect or even telling people don't watch sports. I really don't care what you watch and what you don't watch. What I'm saying is try to find something that's very consistent. Like I said before, the level of biasness and the emotion, it's no disrespect. I just don't have it. I don't have it for strangers who are really good at something. But I do have that for family. And I do have that for friendships. And I do have that for just the bigger purposes in life, right? I don't have that for sports no more. I don't have that for that. And so moving forward, my biggest goal is to inspire, is to motivate as many people as possible. And I hope to do that in earnest, and I hope to do that with some form of integrity. And I hope that you guys will join me in terms of on this journey of trying to inspire as many people as possible. And make no mistake about it, sports is very inspiring. Sports is very motivational. And it doesn't mean I don't watch it. Like I said, I'm just not a fanatic about it like I used to. I used to be an encyclopedia for basketball, and I'm just not. I don't know these guys now. And but it's okay. So I hope you guys enjoy your day. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment on this video, subscribe, of course, and I'm out. Thank you guys for watching.